It looks like this Royal Commission is going ahead. We had in the House of Representatives the motion from the Senate calling for that Royal Commission passed. But it shouldn't have been that difficult that it was. I made it very clear that I was going to support that Royal Commission in the House, and that would have given the opposition and the crossbenchers the numbers to get it through. But look, to me it should have been a no-brainer. There are two very important reasons why that Royal Commission needs to go ahead. The first reason is, as members of Parliament, we vote to send our Australian servicemen off to war. We arm them, we send them off to foreign lands, and we ask them to kill the bad guys. We train them to the hilt to do so. And in doing so, they're putting their lives at risk, and we know in Afghanistan, many of them lost their lives. But more of them have lost their lives since they've come back to Australia through suicide, which is an absolute tragedy. So we have an obligation. If those servicemen then ask us for a Royal Commission, if we've asked them to go and serve their country and go to war, and they come back and say, hey, we want a Royal Commission, there's too many of us that are killing ourselves. It's a simple obligation to give them that Royal Commission. And that's why should have passed the House a lot easier than it did, but eventually it got through yesterday. The second reason is the mere fact that we would call a Royal Commission and give it some dates would provide a light at the end of the tunnel for some people that were really struggling at the moment. It would give them something to look forward to, an opportunity to tell their story, and then the veterans groups would be able to get in and help them. So when the veterans groups told me the mere fact of calling a Royal Commission can potentially save lives, it had to be called immediately. And let's hope that the Prime Minister does the right thing and calls this Royal Commission sooner rather than later. Although it was great to get that through in the House, I must admit it was very disappointing it was such a struggle. To have some of the veterans on my former side from the Liberal Party coalition, some of my good mates, have to threaten to cross the floor to join me to vote with the opposition and the crossbenchers to get it through was very disappointing. I'm disappointed that the government didn't see the urgent need for the Royal Commission and just go ahead and call it. And some of the pressure that was put on my other colleagues, former servicemen, not to vote for it, quite frankly was a disgrace and shouldn't have happened. But this absolutely shows why, just this alone can help justify the reason why I decided to become an independent member. We often say, keep the bastards honest, but this was one case where being an independent actually counted, and I've had a lot of support from members from all across Parliament thanking me for the stance that I did, because that was what helped get this Royal Commission finally through. One of the things that really disappointed me in my final weeks and final months of being a member of the government was the government's response to what was called the Brereton Report. This was a report done on some of the conduct of our special forces over in Afghanistan. Now, a lot of allegations were thrown in that report, and that's fair enough, and these allegations need to be investigated. But what disappointed me was that the way some of our finest, Australia's finest soldiers were simply not only thrown under a bus, but literally thrown under a tank, where they were made to feel guilty without giving themselves a chance to put their side of the story before a court or a tribunal. The idea that a government would take medals off a whole segment of the soldiers that served in Afghanistan, I thought was a disgrace. And that they're even going to take the medals of soldiers that had actually since passed. So we had a situation here where at one stage the government that I was a member of formally wanted to go to a mother or father whose son had committed suicide after coming back from war and wanted to take back their medal. That to me, I think, was very, very upsetting, not only to myself, but I'm sure that everyone that holds Australian servicemen in the highest esteem. The Royal Commission is a victory because it's a victory for all our servicemen and women. We have an obligation. When we sign someone up to pull that uniform on, it should be a lifetime obligation that we look after them. And where we've seen such a great number of tragic suicides after servicemen have left the service, and especially in recent months where there's been a spike following the government's appalling response to the Brereton report. This was something that was very urgently needed. The servicemen that I've spoken to assure me that the mere fact that we were able to call this Royal Commission will actually save lives. The message that we want to send from our federal parliament to all those former servicemen is that we respect your service, we care about you, and we want to make sure that we show that we value the contribution that you've made to your country. And that's why those motions being passed and hopefully this Royal Commission being called very soon is just so important. I made sure I was down there at that rally, down on the lawns in the front of Parliament House with all the veterans to show my support for them and to ensure that the government would actually do the right thing and call that Royal Commission. Now, the motion has passed the House, but we still not have had that Royal Commission called. So I'm hopefully that the Prime Minister will look. We've got a motion from both Houses of Parliament calling for a Royal Commission. It's not calling for a Royal Commission in 12 months' time or sometime down the track. It needs to be called basically immediately. And this issue won't go away until the Prime Minister does the right thing and announces the formation of the Royal Commission. Look, there's a lot of very sad and tragic stories. They're there fighting it and they are there arguing for this Royal Commission. How can you deny them that when they've lost their sons or daughters? Our veterans we've got to show enormous respect to those people that pull on the uniform and actually keep us safe. And just calling the Royal Commission is part of the duty that we have as members of Parliament.